2024 was a unique year. Do you have a mic? Why was it a unique year? It was the hottest year in history. Again, 2023 set the record. 2024 was the first year where the average temperature globally exceeded by over 1.5 degrees Celsius, which was the threshold set in the Paris Agreement, which is important to stay within for us to mitigate the risks of climate change. Something that we are absolutely not going to be very proud about. We should not be, right? I'm going to touch on two specific problems as a theme going into this session, and they connect together with many other problems, but I've decided to focus on these two specifically. We produced the most plastic ever in 2024 also, 414 million tons if I'm not mistaken. It started with 2 million tons in 1950. This is a journey that just continues to grow. I mean, we are all crying ourselves hoarse about the amount of plastic that exists out there that we need to kind of use less and less of. In fact, we've normalized it with Consumer Report publishing a guide about how do you eat less plastic, right? And to me, this is a cop-out. I know, this publication has a role to play, but I don't think we're doing enough here. The second issue that I wanted to touch upon is agricultural waste, which leads in very nicely to Bharat's talk right after me. Almost 70% of agricultural waste ends up in landfills. Okay, the problem with this is because of the moisture content that exists in these landfills. It degrades biologically, and it emits methane, which is 25% more damaging than carbon dioxide. If the waste doesn't end in landfills, it is burnt. And you're looking at VOCs and NOx and sulfur dioxide, and we've suffered in this country spectacularly over the last few years. Delhi becomes a massive example for the whole world for how not to live in a city, but that's how it is, right? Now, both these are opportunities. Let me not be the Dr. Doom here. While we have very limited time, these are opportunities that have to be identified and embraced if we were to survive as a planet. Okay, plastics. We are backing a company called Zero Circle at 7gen, where they are creating bioplastics from seaweed. The important thing that they are doing is that they are creating a plastic alternative that is 100% home compostable and water soluble. So even if 2 million tons of their plastic ends up in the ocean, it'll probably dissolve, and nobody is going to cry horse about that. Now, this is a problem statement that they started off with 4 years ago. It's taken them a long time to come to this point, and that is what I mean. You have to identify these as problems. Agri-waste, right? There are many companies that are basically creating construction material, for example, from agri-waste. We've got some amazing examples from India alone, Structure or Green Jams, and these companies are basically using deep science to kind of create a material that withstands all kinds of testing from NABL to international standards, and it is something real estate developers actually have no excuse to not use these materials. So I represent 7gen Ventures. Joe's introduced me appropriately enough. We work on problems. We work on deep problems. Okay. We are extremely patient with our capital deployment. We are willing to stay invested in a company with our early checks and follow-ons for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Some of these companies need 5, 6 years in the lab. And no traditional VC is willing to do that. Java Capital, Vinod just left, I think, but they are an exception to that, right? That is the tribe that we are representing. We look at what kind of innovation basically works towards mitigating these problems, and how do you create a sustainable intervention and impact using the work that we do. So that's my LinkedIn. If anybody wants to connect with me, we love climate tech. We love deep science specifically, and startups. That's my first love anyway. So happy to connect with you today, yeah, anytime that you want to write to me. You know, it gives me great pleasure now to introduce some amazing speakers right after. Bharat is next from FIDE. I've known about FIDE's work for all the amazing stuff that they've done on the DPI side. And I think he's going to speak specifically about agriculture today. Over to you.